The Barbados Entrepreneurship Summit is coming off very soon, and two gentlemen who, of course, are going to have all the details for us are people who can tell us a little bit more about entrepreneurship. Basil Springer is the change engine consultant for the Caribbean Business Enterprise Trust, Inc., and Derek Brown is the chief executive and holder of the Queen's Award for Enterprise Promotion for 2009. He's the chief executive for Entrepreneurs in Action. Thank you very much for joining us, gentlemen. It's great to have you all as usual.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Perhaps we can start with you, Dr. Springer. What's new? What's happening? What do you want to tell us about?
Yeah, well, we are part of the Entrepreneurship Week as well, Global Entrepreneurship Week, and we are mounting a summit, which is our first summit for Barbados Entrepreneurs Foundation. This summit is a 10-stage program. By 2020, we want to become that is Barbados, the global entrepreneurial hub. Mm-hmm. And we are starting with this summit this year, summit and award ceremony, and there'll be a summit every year, every November, between now and 2020. So this first summit, we're bringing in a lot of international speakers, who will support the various pillars of entrepreneurship, which relate to government policy, which relate to finance, to business facilitation, to training, and to mentoring.
I take it this is where Mr. Brown comes in?
Yes, he's one of the international speakers.
well, you got that special award, the Queen's Award for Enterprise Promotion back in 2006.
Yes.
So tell us about your background in business.
My background in business, I'm an investment banker by trade. I was an entrepreneur at school, selling sweets and leather jackets, and then went on to...
what a combination!
I know,
sweets and leather jackets.
But I graduated from sweets into leather jackets.
Okay,
yeah, great. Not swelling, not combining the two.
Right.
And then took those skills onto the city and trading. And I left the city about 6 years ago. I was really passionate about entrepreneurship and using entrepreneurship as a difference for young people to make an economic difference to themselves. And in 2006, I was awarded the Queen's Award for Enterprise Promotion, which 10 people per year are awarded. So
and that's nationally in the UK.
That's nationally in the UK. So yeah, only 10 people. I think I'm the first person of Bajan origin to...
Good stuff.
Thank you very much.
We like that. We like that.
So what are you going to focus on then in your talk during the summit?
I'm looking at strategic talent strategy. I think that we're in the second decade of the 21st century. Big challenge, not just in Barbados, right across the globe, is what are we going to do differently for young people to compete in the new world that we face. What we're really focusing on is strategically, how can we change education? As your earlier speakers spoke about, what really needs to happen is that for Barbados, we need to look at how we can change primary, secondary and high school, university interaction with entrepreneurship. And what we're looking at is a strategy and identifying good practice both globally, where we can actually take those strands and help the Barbados economy flourish by encouraging more young entrepreneurs coming through right the way from primary school. So working with teachers, working with the students, building up confidence, having more children selling sweets, absolutely fruit, healthy living. But it is about raising aspirations, building confidence, a sense of enterprise and entrepreneurship.
Excellent. Dr. Springer, on the show we often talk about being agents of change, and everyone talks about the kids, but there's so much that kids are expected to remember and learn. But for someone who perhaps did not have an entrepreneurial drive when they were growing up, and they're perhaps thinking of changing careers in, I don't want to say midlife, but later on, what would your advice be? And can they access this summit and get some tips from people like Mr. Brown?
Yeah, well, there are a lot of youngsters actually who are registered for this summit. We're going to have probably upwards of 250 people, at this summit. But we still have spaces left, and Derek will give you a number before we leave to call. But the whole thing about an entrepreneur is that it is an opportunity that you're pursuing rather than a job. We've sort of been trained traditionally that we get a job. We are now saying, let us go for the opportunity. And that makes you the entrepreneur with an idea now looking to make progress and get that into the market. So we provide the various support pillars. The main things, once you've got that idea, is to sort of convert it into an idea that will grow beyond Barbados, because that helps Barbados as well as the entrepreneur. You also need to have management, the talent, the idea, plus management are the ingredients for success. And then, of course, you have to have money. Yeah. So we are looking at all of those things, and the design of the conference is to get the international speaker to come in at each one of those pillars, to have a local speaker talk about where we are at right now in Barbados, and to recognize that there's a gap, there's the opportunity for improvement over the next 10 years, and to start by getting the participants. It's designed so that the participants will have a lot of opportunity for interactive dialogue. Okay. In 3 of those pillars, you can choose whichever 3 you want, and you can spend an hour and a half in each session, and then the strategies that come out from the participants will then be synthesized into a package, and we will implement it. This is not just a conference. This is a conference which is going to have an implementation team right after to implement what the participants, not what the speakers have said, but what the participants have gleaned from it and have advised. And then from the day after, or let's say the week after, we'll be putting somebody in position, like a CEO, to implement these ideas, so that when you come back in 2011, then we will be able to report on the success.
Okay. The Caribbean Business Enterprise Trust, Inc., the slogan says, a Caribbean catalyst turning concepts into commercial realities. One of the things perhaps that Mr. Brown would have had on his side, or young entrepreneurs in the U.S. or nations that large, they have numbers, which is usually a little concern for people. So what do you say to persons who may think, okay, I have this great idea, it seems like it's targeting a specific niche, but will I have enough numbers to support this, for it to have longevity? What kind of advice do you give persons?
When you say numbers in the context of a marketplace?
Yes.
Oh yeah, well, we talk about, in my own day-to-day activity, which is like a subset of what's happening at the summit, we talk about ideas that have the DNA of an elephant. Okay. As distinct from the DNA of an ant. In other words, the idea has the potential to grow beyond the shores of Barbados.
Okay.
Here you have 270,000 people. If you can get a product or a service and go into North America, you then have 330 million people, if you see what I mean. Right. So that is what all of our projects, including the youngster who was here last time, he has a project that's scalable, that can move beyond the shores of Barbados, which then contributes to the growth of Barbados, to the success of the business. And of course, when Barbados wins, we all win.
That's important.
You know, Mr. Brown, I was curious as to what your recommendations at the micro level are. Do you take an idea that has the DNA of an elephant? I really like that, Cassandra.
Yeah,
I think we're going to use that. Do you take
an idea? To pay for it.
Yeah.
True. It's copyrighted. We're talking to the right man over there. Do you take an idea that has the DNA of an elephant and just let it grow, or do you have 5, 10 year or 5 or 10 month goals and short-term goals as to where you want to be? Because, you know, we all hear the story about Steve Jobs and the guys from Facebook, and it just kind of mushroomed. But how important is it to have a plan?
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to have a plan. I think the days of 5 and 10 year plans in the present economic climate, for many people, you really need like a 15 to 18 month plan to trade through the recession and build your business up. But ultimately, if you're going to be successful, it's about your passion and energy, and your passion and energy for your product. When clients and customers buy your product, they become passionate about it. So it's not chasing the money, it's chasing the best execution of your passion, dream. And if you can put that in a plan and execute that well, then you're on to a great business. And
then the rest comes.
Yeah, I think so. I think some people get really caught up with the money. I think that when you look at successful entrepreneurs, typically they've had an idea, a passion that somebody says we want to either do it differently or combine 2 things in a way it's not been done before, or they can do it better than a service that's been provided by others. It's that drive and determination which normally gets the entrepreneur off the ground. And just mentioning also, just on Basil's point, I also think that there are some successful Bajan entrepreneurs who've made a very good living out of building businesses in Barbados. So for young people, there is a benefit to actually building business in Barbados, but also there is going to be those businesses that, as Basil quite rightly identified, the DNA of an elephant, and I'm going to use that myself. And,
is that, make sure you pay for it.
He's just kicked me under the table. But it's just
national television.
But it's just how do you scale that up? And I think, you know, the whole thing that we're focused on is encouraging entrepreneurship, And that doesn't mean just setting up a business. I think if we get more young people going into businesses at a younger age, understanding business and being able to make a contribution, it's a benefit to Barbados and
Well,
wider
Mr.
economy.
Springer promised that you'd give us a number before you leave. So in closing, let's get that number. How can we reach you?
Okay, so there's a limited number of tickets left. The telephone number is 826-2266, and if you call before 12 o'clock, I think you'll be able to get some of the last tickets that are available.
Yay,
Fantastic.
good stuff.
Great.
Thanks to both of you.
Basil Springer and Derek Brown, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
coming, and
Thank you.
good luck with that long-term plan.